Hello guys, how are you?
Very well. Very well. You?
Just finishing work.
Yeah, good, thank you. Good. Give it a few minutes. Let the troops come in.
Always a good idea.
I forgot we were having this in the Millionaires Club, actually.
It's quite unusual that we do something just for the just in the Millionaires Club, isn't it? But we yeah, this is it. It's very exclusive.
Very exciting.
Yeah, very exciting indeed.
Yeah, indeed. I wonder if maybe I've made a bit of a boo-boo putting it in here. Actually, maybe
I think we should jump to the main stage. I think we'll get a lot more people in at this time. You reckon?
Okay.
Cool.
Sounds good.
Let's do that then. Let's do that. See you there.
See you there. All right. Third try is the charm, right?
That's better. Let me just drop a quick at everyone so they're aware. Okay. MDB AI on the stage now.
Danny is still lost, I think.
No, yeah. Oh, better spell that right. Okay. I'm just at everyone, so I think he should be in just a sec.
Ah, perfect. Good stuff.
How are you, my good friend?
Yeah, I've been busy, but in a good way. You know, I've been working hard, and then after work, it's been MDB for the last couple of days, which is pretty nice. And I have actually, I'm going to the casino in a little bit as well.
Oh,
See,
very
see how
nice.
lucky I am.
Are you a blackjack guy, or do you like roulette? What's
Yeah,
your
roulette.
poison?
I
Yeah,
do.
I like roulette.
I still trying to get the blackjack perfect strategy down because it's pretty hard. But roulette, I have a couple of like systems, if you will, that I try out, and it's pretty much. I always end up like even or a bit
Losing.
up or down or losing,
Ah,
yeah. But it's a lot of fun. You get food and drinks, and I usually go with my mother or my sister and my mother. So yeah, it's always fun.
awesome stuff, mate. Awesome stuff. Danny's
And you,
back.
Danny? There he is. Yeah.
Me, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Yeah, one of the little ones have got bloody scarlet fever. Got antibiotics at the
Mm.
moment, so just nursing that back to full health. They're over the worst of it now, like, so it's not too bad.
All right. Well, all the best to them.
Thanks, mate.
Cool. Well, the first 5 minutes of any sort of session we do is always a bit dead anyway because we have to wait for people to come in. So I don't think it
True.
really hurt us having to move stages, did it?
No,
I don't
do
think so,
we
too.
want? Are we recording a session, guys, in case there's those who miss out?
Yes. Yeah, I think I saw somebody's recording it anyway on YouTube.
Oh.
I think K Grind was recording it. I don't know whether we could just maybe check AMA questions and just clarify that. If we can just get a yay from somebody that we are recording.
Pulling it up right now. MSol is recording. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, good stuff. Well, look, I think we've got a lot going on. I've booked in an impromptu AMA to talk about the MDB Infinity airdrop and the process that we have to follow now. Now we're at the point of executing that. So yeah, there's lots going on at the moment. One thing I want to add as well that like I'm acutely aware that we still have some intermittent issues on Xenia. They're affecting some people, not affecting others. I think we had some issues with claiming. We think we've resolved most of those now. However, I think the main issue is well, there's probably two issues actually, and one I'm kind of seeing a bit more noise on, but in terms of seeing assets loading, you can still see your assets if you go down to the asset on Xenia. But in terms of that window that pops up at the top and says loading your assets, some people are having issues with that. Some people, like me, for instance, I've never had an issue with it. I think some people on certain devices are having an issue and not others. And obviously, you know, we've had many commitments that this would be resolved over the last few weeks. Many people have sort of like helped as well, where quite frankly they shouldn't need to, but we're kind of at a point where it's really frustrating. So I wanted to just underline that because clearly from my perspective, we're here to talk about MDB AI. MDB AI is a proof of concept. It's going to be very small, very limited, and we're running it in a very sort of diligent way because we want to learn from the process. We feel very confident, but actually in terms of how big it can be and how much, what does the upside look like for MDB AI? We certainly feel like there's some learnings that can be made, but we think it's very, very sort of low risk from a downside perspective. But I'm conscious we're here to talk about that, and people could be thinking, well, hang on a second, where's my MDB for my Infinity? They could be thinking, well, hang on a second, what is this guy talking about something new? I haven't been able to get my assets to load on the loading assets window on Xenia for a few weeks. I'm very conscious of that, and for that reason, there's a little bit of a caveat on the update today. So I'm going to give you sort of what the plan looks like. At the same time, in 48 hours' time, we need to see those other things moving. Some of that is in our control. So in terms of the restructure, that is firmly in our control, and we have an AMA, and we can be absolutely clear and very certain in terms of what we're going to do because we control our own actions at the very least. When it comes down to some of the sort of like Xenia things that have carried on for far too long, we do have obviously external dependencies with the developer, and it's pretty frustrating, obviously, but it's not your problem. It's our job to manage the business and to move us forward. So I'm very conscious of that. So I'll share kind of the chronologically what the plan looks like at the moment for MDB AI, what that process will look like for somebody who wants to take part in the proof of concept, and what the mint process will look like. And then I've got an update in terms of the structure, and also it's a strategic direction, and it's kind of in keeping with the announcement that we've already put out today, where you can see I think it'll become very clear, right? So any comments, questions? Obviously, guys on the stage, always conscious that I can bang on a bit. Any thoughts, questions, comments before we get stuck into it?
No, mate, I think that was just a good kind of introduction and overview. Nothing from me per se.
Yeah, and a good thing that you mentioned the whole Xenia thing as well. So yeah, nothing from me too.
Yeah, and look, I don't want to like dwell on it, but at the same time, I appreciate, if somebody sees an issue several times and they raise it, thank you first and foremost for taking your time out to do that. But also maybe just to reassure you that internally, we are, we're not forgetting about these things and sort of sweeping them under the carpet. So yeah, we appreciate you taking the time. I think most things are resolved, and like I say, some things actually for me, for instance, and many users, there's no issues whatsoever. But for some people, there are some intermittent and persistent issues. So yeah, we are on top of it as much as we can be. So in terms of the plan for MDB AI, so anybody that's new here and doesn't really maybe understand the backstory to it, we've been talking about having a trading pot, a trading token, a trading bot, and it's mainly been driven. It's never been really in our roadmap. It's mainly been driven by appetite from you guys, right? And as we started to explore different options over many months, you go into something, you test it, you maybe put a little bit of money on something, and then start to see how it works out. And we started to learn a lot about maybe the potential pitfalls with most of the options that are out there for investors, for people like you, right? So we started to go on our own sort of journey with that, and there was two major things that we saw when we went out to the market and we were looking at trading options, whether that's people trading, whether it's organizations, whether it's bots as well. The main risk that we could see even when you go through good levels of due diligence, you look at history of reporting, making sure you can KYC somebody. It's not unusual because there are humans, right? Even the best humans have rough patches for there to be sort of performance gaps where it can cause it can have quite a substantial impact on the overall performance of the product or the organization that you've invested in. So so we recognize that one of the risks of typical trading options within the market is that it can feel a bit like you've got all of your eggs in one basket. Now, some people, for instance, are lucky enough that they've got thousands upon thousands of dollars, and they can go out and they can put $1,000 with 10 different people, and they kind of they win some, they lose some, right? Other people maybe don't have that same opportunity all the time or the appetite to go through that process as well, actually. So we recognise that was one of the potential pitfalls. Also, from a performance point of view, typically what we found is that traders and well-established trading organization bots, it's a bit of a grey area because quite often it's bots with people managing them. Typically, the performance is it's like 10 out of 12 months are normally very positive. And there can always be a couple of dog months in there, and there can be a couple of quiet months as well. Whereas if you could maybe hedge that across a number of different providers who all in their own individual right are very good and trustworthy, you're able then also to hedge out some of your risks. So it's not you're making fantastic gains and then all of a sudden you're in a difficult spot. And then the last thing that we saw, we started to look at NFTs. So non-fungible tokens are a fantastic way of giving someone something, creating some character around it, putting some branding on it. and then it's something that they can also then pass on, right? They can go out onto the open market and sell it, and it enables you to understand kind of where you need to send those returns and those rewards. But also then that creates a question. Somebody said in our server today, actually, I see dead people. I'm not sure if he's here. He said, when I buy an NFT, typically I just see it as a sunk cost at that point, and then I'm thinking about when I can ROI, and then hoping it continues long after that point, which is I think the kind of standard operating model. So that was kind of like the third thing that we recognised, and really to try and solve these problems, we've come up with MDB AI. So MDB AI is an NFT that ultimately, up until today's call, and it will all become very clear very soon. The idea is that we would have to start with 3 providers, and that we would work with. We'd go through our due diligence, and so on and so forth, and they're across different strategies as well. And then also what we would have is a 4th pot that will be carefully managed, monitored, and can be upped or reduced as it needs to be. But ultimately, that 4th pot would be one of our high yield stable backed assets. So anybody who knows Phoenix Plus, it needs no introduction. It's 100% backed by BUSD and delivering on average, somewhere between sort of like 5 and 8% per month. Now, obviously, MDB AI has the opportunity to contribute to the volume of Phoenix Plus, so therefore it could also leverage some of the value of Phoenix Plus, and therefore in the design of the system of MDB AI, you would have a liquidity pool, you would have a redemption value for your NFT at any point in time that would be set on the contract, maybe changed on a weekly basis, for instance, and that would enable you to burn your NFT and swap it for Phoenix Plus, which is 100% backed by BUSD. And that, ultimately that would mean that even if you can't find somebody else on the market, and the system is designed so that the majority of funds are paid out as rewards of earnings, a large chunk of the earnings are then fed back into the system. But then also individuals can liquidate. And if they do liquidate, they'll pay a tax to liquidate. And the difference between the true value and the post-tax value is left within the system. So really both the compound effect of the investment plus people liquidating their NFTs long term, both of those have an accelerated valuation on the NFT itself. So that's kind of the NFT, the structure. And from a plan point of view, our goal is to do a small mint next week, whilst also trying to offer some availability to the Millionaires Club members and also our VIPs. Run it for 90 days, and then clearly, at some point during that 90 days, we're going to be tweaking, learning, pushing for the best performance we possibly can, and as long as we're moving in a direction that we're completely satisfied with, then we'd be looking to do a much larger mint in 90 days time. So it's very limited in its supply. That's why we're calling it a proof of concept. That's why we're not doing 50 AMAs and trying to bring every man and his dog in, because quite frankly, if nobody wants to buy one, that's okay. We want to get through that 90 days and launch something that we're 1,000,000% confident about. But at the same time, people want to take part, and they want to come on this journey with us, and we're more than happy for people to do that. So after sort of like a 5-10 minute monologue, maybe it's a good idea for me to see if there's any questions yet, and I'll kind of dodge any questions that we're going to cover over the next few minutes. Quick look.
I might have one from myself.
Yeah,
you said it's gonna be. Sorry.
Let's do it.
Yeah, you said it's gonna be for Millionaire Club members and VIPs. Will VIPs, for instance, be able to purchase a more valuable one, or like multiple ones, or more than the Millionaire Club ones, or is it all the same?
Great question. Let me just check the chat quickly, and I'll come back to that question. If there isn't anything else.
Yeah, Pie Maestro, he has a question. Will it be cheaper in the second mint?
That's a really good question. I think I'm possibly. I think that's one of the that's one of the
things you've considered.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit distracted because someone's asking about Infinity Fund. We do have an AMA around around Infinity in a couple of hours. Yes, so I think that's one of the things that we want to learn, right, and get our heads around and understand, and market test, and I suppose look and give us that feedback, right? I think that question's coming from a place, Pi. So if you and many other people think, well, actually, we want one that's $200, $500, then give us that feedback and we'll listen. And not everything's possible. There has to be, we live life having to go with some sort of consensus at some point, and that consensus never means everyone's happy. It just means more are happy than are not. So, but we'll definitely take that on board if there's a demand.
Perfect.
There's a lot of comparisons of your teeth and other people maybe that are not as well endowed as you.
I noticed, yeah. Skipping that subject entirely. Amsol asks, are there guaranteed slots or whitelists, or is it a first comes first serve limited mint?
Yeah, it's a great question. Look, I think both of those. It's funny because I'm saying, look, we're going to do this, and here's the structure. Reminds me of when we launched MDB Plus and we hadn't audited the contract yet, and we said, look, it's a fork of an existing contract. We're fairly confident, but take it easy, guys. And KN chucked in 20 grand, and it reminds me of that. You guys are like, just give us the juice.
Yeah.
So let me actually, before I address that, just because your picture is everywhere at the moment, Syrian. I think Alice is too shy to give you the feedback, but she said you were fantastic on camera, and she thinks that we should do more stuff live on YouTube with you involved.
Oh, thank you. I'd be delighted, honestly.
Yeah. Star was born. I think, yeah, you're super, very photogenic, very camera-genic, if that is such a thing. Everybody was over the moon to see you. So, yeah, to answer both Emsol and also and also Syrian's question, I should come away from AMA questions, to be honest, because it's quite distracting watching people abuse each other. So this is how the process is going to work. We kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. That's kind of the life that we've chosen for ourselves. And initially, you're right, Apex.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm just on there. The AMA questions. I'm definitely going to take myself away from there for the quick second because it's just it's
no,
yeah,
you're trying to like really recall your thoughts.
Dark place.
It is.
Yeah.
So we're kind of damned if we do, damned if we don't, because we kind of want to keep it very exclusive. We kind of want to keep it quite controlled and quite sensible and really treat it like a proof of concept. But at the same time, we have 500 plus Millionaires Club members. We have 130 odd VIPs, and every one of you deserves, deserves the same level of opportunity and recognition. So that's always a hard thing to square. So we've decided that the way we're going to do it. So let me just explain. So there's two grades of NFT. The NFT actually it says MDB AI, and it's like a playing card if you haven't seen the image yourself. And they're all there's 10 golden ones in the deck effectively, and the golden ones are just a bit of fun, really fun, but also financial. The 10 golden ones are worth 2 actually, and they'll be shuffled throughout the pack, completely random. But from your perspective, one NFT is $1,000 and to mint it, and you have a chance to mint one of the 10 golden tickets. It's a bit Willy Wonka. How we're going to do it is we're going to run a very short mint. Our plan is to do the mint next Wednesday. I keep using the word plan because we are under it a little bit, thanks to some of the technical issues that our developers have not been able to resolve. They're not things that are stopping us operating, but they are annoying, right? So it's really important over the next 48 hours that they get on top of those things and we get them out of the way and we're not adding more to it. This isn't MDB AI, isn't a cash grab. We don't need the capital. It's about trying to build something that we believe has legs. So we really need to see that we're making progress from a technical standpoint and everything is all settled. Certainly, by the absolute latest by the weekend. Our goal will be Wednesday next week, but just being very clear, if we are ever, actually, this isn't just related to this, but if we're ever in a situation where we think we're just going to be, putting more blocks on sort of the Jenga stack, then we have to do the sensible thing and say, look, back off. Now, in normal times, you normally just back off a week or a few days and give yourself a bit more space. But with it being Christmas as well, it always makes it a slightly trickier time. So we'll see where we are come this weekend. If we are where we expect to be and hope to be, then we will move forward with the mint exactly in 7 days' time. If you are a Millionaires Club member, you can mint a maximum of 1 to your wallet. If you are a VIP, you can mint a maximum of 2 to your wallet. We will set up a wallet collect early next week, so you will need to submit your wallet, and we're just going to have the mint for like 60 minutes. It's going to be like really small. We know the window. The window is about this time of the day, where it's early morning for you if you're Pacific time. You're still awake if you're in Asia. So it's about this time of the day that we're gonna do it, and it will literally just be in and out like a robbery. Everyone who's a Millionaires Club or VIP will have that opportunity for 60 minutes, and then we'll just shut it, and then that'll be it. That'll be the start of the proof of concept. We won't set up a liquidation value in the contract immediately because, quite frankly, if you need to liquidate it within a week, don't buy one. And clearly the wheels need to turn a little bit in terms of the system. So for the first 4 weeks, there won't be the liquidation function there. But I'm sure it's very limited, and people speculating. I'm sure they'll be looking on the secondary market, and then once we're a few weeks into the system, then we'll set up the liquidation function. We'll add it to the D app, and you'll have access to Phoenix Plus if you want to chop it in. So that's kind of from any questions around that, because there's some real meaty stuff that we need to get into after this. But I think that probably covers the main questions, right?
Yeah, I do have a couple from the community. I do have one myself as well.
Cool.
Or another one as well. The question I wanted to ask is the supply that we have. It's liquid then, right? It depends on how many people are going to subscribe or apply.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah. Exactly.
Then,
and we have capital as a protocol, and we're happy to we actually want to own lots of them as a protocol. They're it's our system, so we just need to factor in a bit of fluidity, and if people don't want to, that's okay, right? It's a proof of concept, and if people want to use their sort of one ticket, then they can, and we'll just make sure there's enough allocation for everybody.
Exactly. Okay. Well, that's good to know. Then BW has the question: how often do we expect payouts, and will they be in stable?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So the payout, for the proof of concept, the payout will be in MDB Stables, and the payouts will be on a monthly basis. The reporting will be like crystal clear and on a weekly basis actually for it, and also the liquidation value will be updated on, or the redemption value, let's call it, if you want to liquidate your NFT, which means it would be burnt, will be updated on a weekly basis. So it'll be like really clear reporting. We can see how everything is doing, and we'll even share what each pot is doing individually, and we'll change it on a weekly basis. But yeah, it'll be paid out in stables. The plan is that when we look at the end of the proof of concept, and everything we do comes back to helping MDB go through this capital synergy process that we're all supporting. The plan will be that actually we can offer options and maybe even incentives. Potentially you could claim MDB instead of stables if you want, and maybe you get the MDB tax free, for instance. But again, that's coming at the end of the 90 days, and the whole point of the proof of concept is for us to test it and measure the results, and then work out what should the long term be. If you're going to go out and build an organization that's going to be 3-5 million plus based around this model, you want to get that right first time.
Yeah, and I think it's a good idea that we're starting off like small and with a proof of concept, because as you said, it's something that has never been done before. So it's only logical and smart to do it this way.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
No problem. Can I do some more questions, or would you like to continue to the?
No, let's do more questions. I want all the questions out of the way, because the next bit we're going to do, I think, is going to set off a lot of questions. What we're about to announce doesn't exist as far as we know, hasn't been done before, and I'm super excited about it. Let's get all of these questions out of the way.
Will do. I've got MSOL. What will be the minting currency for them?
Phoenix Plus.
Phoenix Plus, yeah. Okay. Then
and we'll change the transfer tax on Phoenix Plus, as we've done with other mints as well, so that so if you buy your Phoenix Plus now, you're not going to get 2 in, 2 out. We'll make sure that the tax to transfer is very minimal coming out. So earlier is better.
Exactly. Will there be a light paper available after this? Where they can maybe reread about it again?
Yeah, we do have a 1-pager. I think we can definitely pad that out. We can definitely pad that out. But I'm not sure, the person who's asked that question, have they seen the 1-pager that we published?
Jim, if you could see, I think it's in the Millionaire Club channel, right? Yeah, if you could go look there, Jim, and if that's not sufficient for you, just let us know in the AMA questions again. Let me have a look. Yeah, so as long as you mint in that window, you're guaranteed your allocation.
Yeah, and by the way, we don't want to like Blocked is saying it's 3:26 a.m. for him. Have a big night, buddy. Go for it. Stay up. But no, in all seriousness, look, this is look, we've always said we're a community project, right? And this isn't about exclusivity. So if it's 3 o'clock in the morning for you, or you're on an aeroplane, let us know. We've done it before where we've minted for somebody because they've been on an aeroplane or whatever. It's not about cutting people out. It's just about us being efficient. So Blocktar or anybody else, if you want to just send us a message, and we can just make sure we hold on to one for you if you want one.
I answered somebody, so now I have to scroll all the way back up to see where I was with the questions. There's the Blocktar ones. MSOL has, okay, those are answered. How often will the payouts be? All right, that's already answered too. I have 1,000 USD in MDB. Can I ape into this with my balance? No, it has to be in Phoenix Plus.
Yeah, a couple of people have asked that question. MDB AI isn't us swapping something. It is swapping it for a token, because an NFT is a token, but it's an aggregator, and actually it's an aggregator that you can say, well, actually I want my money back. And typically when you buy a token, that isn't the case. So it's we see it as a service, we are, let me think about this from a legal point of view. We are acting purely as a facilitator for other service providers. So we can't you can't take MDB and trade it on the market, on mainstream applications. That's the reason why. I hope that makes sense. And at the same time, you can't buy a token, and you can cash it out, but you'll cash it out into the LP, and it affects the price of everyone else. The idea of MDB AI is that when you cash out, you actually increase the value of everybody else's. It's impossible, mathematically, it's impossible to bring the price down by selling your NFT.
Jeff Bezos has an interesting one as well. Can we allocate some of the burn tax to that to grow the trust fund?
Potentially, yeah, potentially we could do that. I suppose the trust fund is going to own, NFT. So by proxy, that happens. The trust fund will be the largest holder of MDB AI. So every time somebody liquidates their NFT, and I don't think this isn't a short-term thing, right? But at the same time, that also we don't want it to be a sunk cost. So if you've seen sort of 60% upside in 9 months, but you're like, I'd like my money, then the trust fund will be the largest beneficiary of people liquidating. And I think I've just answered P21's question as well, hopefully.
Seems like it, yeah. I'm just going to answer Screwed Up Texas one, and I don't think we have many others after that. There's one MSOL question again. Will Stables payout be in MDB Plus or Phoenix Plus? I think that's Phoenix Plus, right? You mentioned that earlier.
Yes. Well, I did actually say MDB Stables because it's something that we're assessing at the moment. Happy to hear feedback, by the way. I think for the proof of concept, we are happy for it to be Phoenix Plus. But I think at the end of the proof of concept, where we want to be is that you can actually choose. You can just you could take MDB Plus, Phoenix Plus, or you could take MDB itself.
Cool. Yeah, I know what I would choose.
And another answer actually for P21. Obviously, you asked how it would help MDB. Not only does the trust fund own MDB AI and benefit from the gains of MDB AI and also the liquidation, but when we add MDB as a payout option, then it means that MDB AI has to purchase MDB to distribute it to the holder of the NFT.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Watch Me Nene asks, do we buy $1,000 NFT and also add capital to invest for trading? Or is it buying the NFT investment all we have to do? Yeah, right.
That's all you have to do. Yeah, it's completely passive from a holder's point of view at that point. I think that this is another thing, another great, we're doing this together over 90 days, and actually, is that a function? There's always a question of whether it's practical, technically possible, and logical. But yeah, maybe people would want to, maybe people would want to say, well, actually, what if I'd like to top up my NFT? I don't know whether that's possible or whether it just causes more problems, but all of these suggestions are really valuable. There's another good one here, like for instance, nice to have the option MDB Plus could be an advantage if you want to pair it with MDB for the farm, which is a great suggestion. And actually, what if maybe MDB AI, when we go full launch, can pay out the LP itself? That would be a really interesting mechanism as well.
Indeed. There's one more question I want to address, and maybe then we can move on because we're already 38 minutes in. The one from Mars here. Who will be managing / overseeing the trading bots? Will they remain anonymous?
Yeah. It will remain anonymous just because, quite frankly, when you run an organization, and this is part of our learning curve, when you run an organization that invests in other systems, it's much easier to go in than it is to come out, quite frankly. It becomes very emotive, and we want MDB AI to be very calculated from a financial point of view. We don't want to have to worry about people's feelings or anything like that. So there's more infrastructure which we'll be moving on to in a second, that as an organisation we're sort of co-investing in, and we will leverage that infrastructure to manage our partners and make decisions.
Cool. Sounds good to me. That will be all.
There's a good question there from El Marble, actually. In this vein, will any of the trades be transparent? So we have like this. I suppose there's almost like a best in class when we're looking at providers, and some of those things that are best in class are if they can manage via API and we actually hold the funds, so somebody else isn't holding our capital. Can they KYC to us? Do they have a long history of results? And another one is proof of trades as well, actually, is really, really important. So to us, absolutely. And, again, very open during this next 90 days to get feedback. More than happy to think about how we can provide transparency without tying people up in bureaucracy as well.
Yeah, the questions just keep on coming in. I want to move this on.
Let's move on. Are we good to move on?
Yeah, let's do it. Do you agree, Apex?
Maybe Apex is a little bit of an introduction. It'd be good for you to maybe tell us what you've been doing over at Apex Trades.
Good plan.
Okay. Well, look, anyone in MDB will have known, when specifically if you're in the Millionaire Club, that some time ago we set up a trading channel within the MDB Millionaire Club section, and a lot of the stuff that I was doing was kind of showing my trades and what I was doing and kind of how successful I was kind of becoming when I was doing the trades, and kind of helping guide people a little bit and educate where I can and do some sessions on live TA and stuff like that. And I felt that a lot of people got a lot of kind of good stuff out of it. And it kind of struck me at the time that I thought, you know what, I've clearly got a passion for trading myself, and I've been trading about maybe on and off probably 4 to 5 years, but more seriously maybe the last kind of 2 years. And so I decided I'd set up my own server, just called Apex Trades, and one goal is purely just to provide education and guidance, and just be an open and transparent book on how I trade and kind of the practices and principles that I think are maybe tried and tested, and trying to clear out some of the bad habits that people tend to get into with trading. A lot of it's psychology is a big one, and emotions. So how do we take all of these kind of good things and help develop people? And it just seems to have kind of grown arms and legs. We started, I don't know, 3-4 weeks ago, and we're up to, like, I think it doesn't sound a lot when you say it like this, but we hit our 100 member benchmark quite recently, which I was quite proud of. And I set up a paid section because I thought, well, we're actually developing people here, and there's an education piece that is quite valuable. And I think anyone who invests in their own education is usually a solid investment, by that stance. So that took off really well. We've got currently around 40, members who are all active and kind of taking some guidance and understanding how to trade I'd say the right way. There's always a million ways to skin a cat when it comes to trading. Lots of people have different styles, but I think I have, the way I trade and the way I try to educate people, it has a certain kind of benefit to it, the way it trades, and we can kind of go over that, in a short while. And so that's a basic introduction just on how I've kind of gone from Apex Alpha, now converted to Apex Trades, and yeah, that's kind of where we are.
Yeah, and well done on that, by the way. Well deserved too.
Would you like me to carry on?
Yeah.
I mean, that was just a bit of an introduction, but obviously there's more really cool information that's going to come if you would like me to continue, Danny.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So, as things have been going quite well, you know, from a trading perspective, one of the things you realize quite quickly is, yeah, you're kind of in control. Sometimes, you know, you don't care if the market goes down, you don't care if it goes up, as long as you're savvy and you know how to trade and you understand the principles of trading, you understand risk management. You really don't have a bias towards which way it wants to go, and that's kind of a, you know, a theme that runs through it here. So as we were kind of, you know, developing ideas and stuff like that, you know, myself, Garlic Worm, who, hope he doesn't mind me saying, is a professional trader, you know, in excess of like 20 years, and obviously Danny, head of the MDB, we kind of came together on an idea that we think hasn't been done before, not at least within the DeFi space, and not something that we've seen anywhere else, where we want to essentially team up as a partnership between MDB Apex Trades to present a massive opportunity to be funded as a trader. So what does that mean? So we want to deploy capital across different tiers, and those tiers will represent a level that you can apply for funding for to each, you know, each member to be able to trade with. The net result of that would be that they would take a profit split every month of anything they make as profits, with, you know, a percentage going back to the MDB treasury. So it's a way in which the treasury builds, but it's also you as an individual. So we're not talking about any specific NFT or anything like that. It's pure profits that go to you as a trader. Now, the way in which we want to do it is we want to set up, we've thought kind of long and hard about how we kind of create, you know, the different tiers. So we're not just targeting beginners. We're not just targeting, you know, professionals. We want to try and target a range of people and funnel it through the Apex Trade Academy, where we develop you as a trader. So you may not fancy yourself, or you may fancy yourself as a trader rather, but you don't know if you have the skill set and acumen to trade, because trading is not easy. It's difficult, and there's a lot of kind of emotional elements you've got to kind of, you know, take on board. But the idea is that, you know, as part of a kind of a starting point, we would guide you through to become a trader. You know, make sure you understand all the core principles we go through, and that would be, you know, over a 30-day period initially, just to kind of sense check, guide, understand where you are, what gaps you have, and then start you on your paid journey. So you would effectively start, let's just say, I mean, I'm going to run a couple of different examples so the narrative is clear. But let's say you're relatively new to trading, but you want to learn trading. You would come into the server, you would gain membership to the Patreon trades, which is the subscription section of our server, and then we educate you. There's a few really solid people within the server who are all really intelligent, have been trading for some time, and we guide you through your trading journey. After that 30 days, let's just say as an example, if we think you are ready to start your trading journey, you'll have to pass a knowledge test, right? So there's the 30 days is all geared towards helping you pass this knowledge test. So a list of kind of questions that we'd expect anyone who's going to be receiving capital to be able to answer these questions, followed by an interview, right? So there has to be some rigor around the process, because obviously it's capital at risk, and we just, it's not free. But it's not, if you pass these things, so if you pass the test and you pass the interview, your kind of entry level is, let's say you would receive $100. It's not it's certainly not ground shaken by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a way in which we can assess you as a trader with some key metrics along the way, like understanding that you can't lose more than, say, 5% on a losing trade. You can't lose more than 10% total, and you must show, you know, that in terms of your month by month gains, that you're earning at least 10%. We'll talk about all the actual detail bit maybe at a different time. I don't want to get bogged down into that, but the idea is that if you stay within that criteria and you pass that first 30-day challenge, we then have the ability to upscale your capital to, say, $1,000, and then you will trade with $1,000, and you will do the same thing again. So you will do a 30-day, so you'll apply the same principles, where you would then be able to kind of use that capital to trade, and anything that you get after that 30 days, you would do a profit split with a proportion going back to MDB and a proportion going to yourself. And we've got 6 scales in which each scale gets progressively more capital. But obviously, with that consistency gives confidence, let's just say, in the ability to upscale your capital, because we've seen that there's going to be rigorous overview. We'll have a master account, kind of flip-flopping a little bit here, but we'll have a master account which we'll be able to see all the sub accounts. Now, if you're a successful trader and you pass the knowledge test as well as the interview, you will be given a sub account. It'll be just your sub account. It will have your own credentials, but we will be able to monitor how you're doing as a trader, what your risk appetite's like, how much drawdown you were in, so how much of a trade you're currently in a loss at, as an example. And then we would have the ability to kind of start forcing trades. We don't want to do this, of course, but we would have the ability to oversee and manage capital, because it's always got to be about the capital at risk and not letting anyone just blow up just because they you get greedy, and it's very easy. And again, I harp on about the emotional side, but it's a key thing we need to make sure we're kind of managing. So that's the principle. You go through the gears effectively, going from, over a 6-month period, you can go from kind of $100 capital right the way through to really high amounts of capital. And it depends on where you are at the stages as a trader. You may be a really capable trader, and you may actually not want to start at the ground level, and that's for us to determine. So that would be myself and Garlic Worm, who would be understanding you as a trader. If you are applying for a higher level, which is absolutely fine, by the way, we'd want to see some level of proof of your previous history trade, your P&L, understanding some of your data and stats. So in a nutshell, we're partnering together to offer 400 traders the ability to essentially trade. You will start your journey through Apex Trades. You will get into the community spirit. I mean, we have actually quite a few of the people in here now are already part of the Apex Trades server, and feel free to ask any questions to any of the guys. I can see Lord Sheargarath. I can see Pi, who's also there. Moonrise is one of our mods, actually, who's an excellent trader, and so it's a real community spirit. What I do, and this is never financial advice, and I think it's important that we get this out early, is I like to trade with transparency. So what I will often do is I will do a lot of the TA. So I will do a lot of the technical analysis. I will do a lot of the fundamentals. So understanding what news events are going to be key, and what potential effect it can have on the markets. We typically trade BTC. So really only looking to trade in the crypto space. However, that's not a limitation. We can discuss that a bit further down the line. But as a result, it keeps things nice and clean. And by doing that, we monitor the news. I'm doing the technical analysis. Others can also do technical analysis, and then I will determine what I'm going to do with my trade. So I will be open and transparent. I will say, here's what I'm going to do as my trade. This is, and I'll put it out there. It's not financial advice, but it's a way in which you can shadow me as a trader. It's probably fair to say I've been quite successful. I don't need to kind of lie about that. I'm an open book. I share every result in the server. So you'll see there's a section called trade results, and then we can kind of go over that as a separate kind of thing. So I don't know if I've missed anything. Hopefully not. But I'm going to go through just some of the other details. So as I say, it will be a 6-tiered approach from a funding level perspective. Each time you will have to do a 30-day kind of proof of consistency, which is what we'll be monitoring, and then you'll move to the next level if you're good enough. If not, there will be elements where we don't want to just kind of cancel you down and shut your account, but we would have to kind of review and understand where these go. So we would be looking at that. But each level will be more increased than the next. We must demonstrate consistency with no losing trades greater than 5%. That's going to be key, because we've got to make sure we don't lose any. Well, we don't want to be dropping capital. That's the key point, and so that's the key there. And then a drawdown. Really, we don't want to see anything greater than 10% on any single trade. So if your trade, as an example, is more than 10%, there's a risk opportunity happening there. So that's the other thing we'd want to be mindful of. Now, The platform we'll discuss, but the platform will give us the ability to set up sub-accounts. So each individual member who's successful will have a dedicated sub-account, as I've just said. We will use a system called Coin Market Manager, which allows us to track the full progress, what fees have been paid to the broker, what drawdowns you're receiving, what your current state of any live traders, and then effectively what your P&L is. So we'll be doing the P&L management in the background. That will ultimately be part of what Garlic Worm will be doing with some of it from me. So as a benefit, so learn how to become a successful trader. I mean, look, trading is the easiest and hardest way to earn money, right? Easiest because the wins can be insane. If you have a number of kind of key stables that you always rely on, but it can also be the hardest if you are emotionally crazy and you can't deal with kind of the trade. So you've got to be careful, but if you can apply yourself, there is a huge benefit to becoming a trader. We'll talk about the kind of split. We're kind of figuring out how the split is. So I don't think it's probably right to talk about how we'll split the profits, but ultimately there is no upfront capital from you as an individual. I mean, a lot of the times you may come across these prop firm ideas where you pay an amount of money to pass a test, and then if you pass, you can get funded. There is no upfront capital from yourself, other than you'll pay a subscription into the Apex Trade. You have to be a Millionaire Club member, by the way. You'll come into the Apex Trade server. You get 7 days free. So even if you just want to come in, spend 7 days, get a sense of what it's like, come and have a look. If you don't like it, no problem, just leave. But you'll see quite quickly, once you access the Patreon channel, you'll see it's a really cool atmosphere, lots of cool education, lots of people who have all got the same kind of appetite. And the idea is to guide people through. That's the mantra, to guide people through to become a trader. Because what we don't want is just people who people applying for a funded account who really don't have the time or desire, because we don't want to waste capital. So you can be assured that anyone who is legible and who is eligible, rather, not legible, anyone who is eligible will be there because they've got their own merit, and that's kind of what we're trying to focus on. So the only way to determine that really is to come into the server, spend the time, get a sense of who you are, who we are, understand the kind of education and your performance, and then we can start that kind of process going on. Okay, so the next step. So we anticipate the funded trading account will go live from the 1st of February for successful applicants. So, that will allow January. So, we're kind of coming to the end of December and we're in the Christmas phase now. So kind of by January, that will be the start of the kind of people coming into the server, myself, Garlic Worm, the team, identifying those who are keen to want to apply for the funded account. By February, we'll then issue account sub accounts, which then you'll be delegated capital to. That delegation of capital will be determined explicitly by myself, but rubber stamped by Garlic. He will be the ultimate arbiter of the level, because he's a pro trader, and I think it's nice to have his experience and wisdom as a professional trader in and around this venture, because it just gives us confidence in some of the kind of the operations, let's just say, of our prop firm work. So that's the kind of element that we need to bring to the table for this as well. So how do you qualify? Well, look, must be in the Millionaire Club. If you're in MDB and you were in the Millionaire Club, that grants you tick number 1. You must be in Apex Trade's Patreon server for a minimum of 30 days. That's obvious. We need to assess you as a trader. You must pass the Apex Trades Traders Knowledge Test, which has been designed by Garlic Worm and myself. And you must pass an interview with Apex Trades and Garlic Worm. That's just more of an informal conversation. It sounds probably a lot worse than what it is, but it's just about assessing you as a person to get a fundamental understanding of how you may take the capital and trade. Now, there's a huge de-risk element here. That the reason we've done this kind of centrally managed account with sub-accounts is a sub account can only send capital one way, and that's back to the main account. It doesn't have the ability to send it elsewhere. So the idea is that every month you look at your profit, and then we take that back, and then we issue you a your whatever your profit percentage share would be. So right now we've probably realised I've thrown a shit ton of data at everyone and a lot to take in. We are going to be sending out some nice infographics which kind of contextualizes this and makes it a bit more bite-sized and easier to understand. And I'm sure there's actually a ton of questions that'll come off the back of this. So, at this stage, I think it's probably fair, Danny, to just take a bit of a pause and see where everyone's heads are.
Yeah, just to add a little bit of clarification, sort of where does this fit with MDB AI and why is it relevant? Because ultimately, this is like almost like a. I think in terms of how we're positioning it, and we have to be very careful. And I was about to not be careful with my language. That it's it is a partnership, a tie-up, a collaboration between MDB and Apex, where Apex, with the support of others, as he's mentioned, are bringing structure and the operation, and MDB is supporting with marketing and also some provision of capital within certain boundaries and controls and risk measures, and it's an opportunity for you to learn. Or if you're more experienced, you can come along and earn a place, and you can win sponsorship. Let's call it that. It's probably a nice way of putting it. And where that fits into MDB AI is that we'll call it the Apex MDB pod, because it's a joint venture between the two of us. It's another pod. So we talked before about 3 pods, 3 providers plus 1 liquidity pool in stable, and now it will be 4 pods plus 4 providers, and the Apex MDB sort of partnership will be one of the pods. I think we've got a fantastic opportunity, because there are people that are very capable, and there's also people that are very capable but need to learn, and what Apex is building and doing offers a fantastic opportunity. I think it's a great marketing opportunity also for MDB. I think it fits perfectly with our own sort of mantra of make DeFi better as well, because we don't want to take from people. We want to try and use our powers to try and help people win together, and obviously Apex completely embodies that as well. So hopefully that adds a bit of clarification in terms of where it fits in with MDB.
Cool. I do have a few questions. I wrote them down from the audience.
Cool.
If you don't mind me going through them.
No, please go ahead.
This is actually a good one. Once a trader is trained, right? Why would he trade for MDB instead of himself and keep 100% of the profit?
It's a really good question. I mean, it's his capital at risk, I guess, versus MDB's capital at risk. So
True.
It's easy to do that, and there's no problem on that, of course. But it just depends on how you are as a trader. It's probably a good question.
Yeah, but I think
Sorry, go ahead.
very, very simply, there's people that we know that have got years of trading experience that have already heard of this through our own conversations with MDB AI, and they've said, "I'll do it. I'll take a seat." And they're already trading their own funds, and some of them very significant amounts of funds. But they're saying, "Okay, well, look, I can demonstrate that I'm competent, and I can move through the hurdles very quickly, and actually, if I can sit here trading 100k of my own, and you'll give me another chunk of cash, and the more success I have, the more cash you'll give me, then for them it's an opportunity for them to leverage their work even more, and even if you think about it at a very basic scale, even if somebody had $10,000 just sat there and they're a competent trader, theoretically, if they go and work for a hedge fund, because a hedge fund can give them $5 million, and they'll make more money in their commission in a day than they would make by a long way than they would make sort of with their own 10K. And also trading someone else's money adds a different type of pressure, which actually can be very healthy. So there's a number of different reasons, but many traders aren't just trading one pot of money. In truth,
makes sense.
You make a really good point. You make a really good point there about there's a different mindset when you're trading with someone else's money. You often find yourself applying more stringent. Exactly. Yeah. You're applying much more stringent measures, and you naturally apply de-risk than what you would on your own account. So that can be a really good thing, and often keeps you in check as a trader, I'd say. So it's a good question for sure, but I don't think it's a problem, because you can do both, right? You can trade your own money at the same time as also trading as an account. So good question, but also good answer.
Yeah, very good answer. I love it. Then you mentioned there's like a 6-tiered system, right? Will everybody start at the same level?
No, it purely depends upon their skill set, how they can demonstrate them as a trader. So do they have solid enough trading history? And then there's an analysis upon risk that would be applied by Garlic and myself, where we review and ultimately Garlic would make that decision on where he thinks they could be started off. But initially, you want to see, the idea that you could almost think of it like this, right? So I represent the retail trader, right? I'm not a professional trader, but I'd probably say I'm good at trading, right? So I represent that side. So I'm more helping the guy or girl who comes up, who wants to trade and probably has enough knowledge, but needs to refine themselves a little bit and get to a stage where they become consistent. That's the bit I'm really good at, I think, and will be able to kind of help and guide people on. So I see myself certainly on the lower end of the stages and the starting process of guiding them on. But then obviously we've got Garlic who's much more professional and understands the prop world, even more so. So depending on where you are on that scale, well, I guess will depend on what level of entry you will be granted.
Yeah. So if you can show like great performance over the last X amount of time, then you can like flow into a higher tier, right?
Yeah, and we've decided to not put a value on tier 6 on what that capital is, just because there's no. It would be naive for us to put a value on someone who comes in who's an absolute shit hot trader, and they've demonstrated that over a long period of time, to say, right, it's the maximum you're going to be able to trade with is 500,000 or whatever. It's naive to state what that would be, so we've left that undisclosed, because I think it needs to be a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
It's almost like a fight school as well, right? Where it's very capitalist in nature. So, the best fighters, make it to the top, and they get the best equipment, and that's it's a process, really.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. Then, who provides the money for the traders? Is it the trust fund?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought, but I just wanted to have that clear. And
the trust fund is the largest beneficiary of the profits as well.
Yeah.
And the last question that I have so far, but I'm not sure if you're even able or willing to divulge that information, Apex. How much dollar is allocated to each trader at each of the 6 tiers?
We have an outline value that we think each tier would be able to represent. I don't know whether I want to disclose it at this stage, and that's simply because, number one, we think it's a unique idea at this stage, and we want to be in a position where we take something to market quite quickly with not intelligently, but equally we don't want to disclose all the details at this stage. We have the concept, we have the platform, we have the wherewithal. we just want to be high level at this stage, just to kind of gauge the reaction, because I think that's probably fair to say at this stage. But as you start ratcheting up, think of it like this, right? You're going from stage. I'm speaking more on behalf of a beginner. You're going from stage 1 to stage 5. Realistically, you could go from stage 1 to stage 5 in 5 months with a pretty hefty capital under management, with the ability to trade and almost be able to get to that stage means that you've been consistent over a 5-month period. You've demonstrated all the kind of key attributes that you want to see in traders to be profitable. And what that means for you as a trader is you've been funded and you're earning a nice amount of profit each month based upon the fact that you've gained that exposure over a 5-month period. We will determine what those values are, and I'm more than happy to share that. It's just we need to just finalize what that needs to look like, and making sure we get that part right.
Yeah, sounds totally totally all right to me. Do traders require KYC or doxing?
Really, really, really good question. I would prefer so, if I'm honest. Ultimately, though,
it will be a limiting factor if somebody says, I cannot KYC or docs. And we're talking to organisations around KYC partnerships where we can use a third party. So even if somebody feels a little bit uncomfortable and we want a third party that can hold the details, but it will naturally be a limiting factor for somebody if it's something that they can't or won't do.
Yeah, and the other thing as well on this is, the way sub accounts work is they are intrinsically linked to the main account. They can't funnel funds from a sub account and have a crazy win and then decide to take funds elsewhere. They would only have credentials for the sub account if you're a trader, and ultimately that would have to go back to a main account, which would then almost act like a professional account. Each month, review the P&L, understand the different accounts, how they got on, and the shares and the commissions and all that kind of stuff. That would just be determined. There would also be an agreement that would be signed between the trader and MDB as the entity, or MDB and Apex Trade as a.
I've lost you.
Yeah, me too.
Just me then. Yeah, I think to answer that question till Apex comes back, it's but at the same time, it's a bit like when you manage a sales team. You've got to follow all the rules, and but if somebody delivers fantastic results over and over and over again, then clearly if you're somebody that can make money like that, then you start to make the rules a little bit yourself, as long as you're not kind of breaking risk boundaries and capital risk and things like that. But naturally speaking, it's helpful if somebody is prepared, if they want to move through the levels. It's helpful, and not immediately, because it might just be irrelevant, and also it costs money to KYC. But it might make sense to KYC people that are moving through the upper levels.
Just
I don't know if Apex is back.
Just typing that we lost him. I PM'd him real quick. Not sure if he realizes that we can no longer hear him. Did you guys think about rules in the server already, or is that something that hasn't been decided yet?
Guys,
There you
I
are.
had the wife ringing me phone, and because I've got the Bluetooth ears, and it seems to have just not connected back in. So yeah, we were talking about the KYC. So I think it's always nice to have. It gives confidence to people. The only thing I would say is the accounts are almost explicitly linked to the main account, and there's no way you can send funds anywhere else, and that will be just part of a management duty to maintain maintain that accountancy. So it's it's all above board. But I'm open to suggestions. I think I'd be quite happy either way. I have no problem KYCing personally myself. It's absolutely fine for me.
Cool. There was a question around roles in the Discord, and we've got another AMA in 75 minutes, so I need to shoot very soon. But there was a question about roles in the Discord. Will people be given different roles?
Yes.
Getting down to the detailed questions now.
Yeah, exactly.
There will each the tiers will have references, so there'll be specific names to a tier. You know, because you want a little bit of gamification, if I'm okay to say that. So you want to see, you know, that there's people who are actually achieving further development. And okay, well, what is it about you that why are you being able to go through the ranks quickly, and what are you doing that I'm not? You know, I think as a community, you want that kind of spirit, because that kind of pool together appetite where everyone's kind of in it together and helping each other out just breeds success and consistency, and that's ultimately what we want to cultivate. So there will absolutely be a dedicated role linked to a specific tier, and that will obviously, you know, determine what level you're on. The only level that would be undisclosed is the top tier, because that would be a case by case basis about how much capital that would be under a specific ownership. So everything else though you will have a role linked to a specific value. So yes, is the answer to that question.
Cool. I think we're pretty much there question-wise then.
Very good. Very good. Lots of information. Yeah, I'm super excited about it. I think, you know, we've got, you know, with the partnership with Apex, we've got huge ambitions, and it's, you know, it's something that, you know, it's a fantastic place at the very least to learn something that requires a lot of dedication and discipline, and if you have those things, and I think it can also be really fruitful. And you know, I'm happy that working with Apex, that we've got the opportunity to be a part of that, but also, you know, being the businessman as well, I'm very happy that the system that's been designed there, and you know, extremely confident that our risks are minimal and our opportunity is significant.
Yeah, it's kind of developed a system that kind of there's I don't want to go into detail right now on this, because we'll be on the subject for absolutely hours. Head over to Apex Trades when you guys get a chance, and we'll talk shop there, because I know Danny's got to kind of move on. But there's a specific way I like to trade, and it's all about managing risk, but not having any losses if possible. And a lot of people always say, how come you're only showing your wins? It's like, no, trust me, that's not my wins. They're just they're just my consecutive trades. That's just it. And it's difficult, because it's like it's just, yeah, well, you you actually, Danny, no, something's not right. Something's not adding up here. But yeah, no, when you kind of understand how we trade and there's a million and one ways to skin a cat, you just get to start to see, wow, okay, that actually makes a lot of sense, and I can see how that gives you a lot more room to kind of not hit stop losses every 2 seconds, which, you know, wrecks a lot of new traders because they're worried about where their entries are and that kind of stuff. It's educating people in a slightly different way on how to trade, which gives you a lot more kind of management of making a profit than making a loss. And that's the kind of thing we do. And there's many on this session who are actively making funds and whatnot. So yeah, the ambition's real, guys. I'm really excited to get on with it, and want to just thank Danny and MDB for the massive opportunity as a partnership, because it doesn't come any better than MDB as a partner. I'll tell you that for nothing. So really excited and really keen to kind of, you know, do what I do best and educate, because that's what I love to do. So feel free to come over, guys. 7 days free, absolutely no no need to stay if you're not getting anything out of it. But as I say, we don't have an awful lot of people leaving, so that can only be a good thing, I guess.
Yeah, I can heartily recommend joining Apex Trades. You won't regret it.
Very good. Thank
Good
you.
stuff. Right, cheers, guys.
Thank you so much, and have
Thank
a
you,
great day,
guys.
everybody.
See you. Bye.
Bye bye.